Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I am so excited. You have no idea how I am excited tonight. I think my emotions are already running crazy. I'm trying my best to keep my cool, to make sure that I have composure and that I'm not crying the entire time. But tonight is such an amazing night for me. I do these shows every week and I get to partake in different people's lives. Sometimes I have people on from different organizations. Sometimes I have people who are just here watching, and kind of just interchanging with me and talking to me, and I'm by myself. And other times I have an amazing guest. I've been able and blessed to have friends on, to have amazing partners from different organizations. But tonight, my heart is just full. I already feel emotional. So if you know me, you know me well enough to know I'll probably spend this entire live in tears. So bear with me. I'm going to do the best that I can. Tonight, I have an amazing, amazing, and most special guest. I made a beautiful video for you guys to see so we can play it, but because as always, I overdo it and it was too long, so I can't show it. But anyway, if you follow me and you know who I am, you know who Alina is, you know how special she is to me. I constantly say Alina is my saving grace, and she is just the biggest part of my life. So before we go on with that, I just want to remind us why we're here. As always, Love Shouldn't Hurt stands for something. We're not just here making noise. We're here because we want to help those who couldn't help, who don't have the services or the ability to be able to do what I do for them. We want to service them any way that we can possible. So remember that across the screen is scrolling the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. Remember, if you're dealing with any sort of domestic violence in your home, whether it's with a loved one, a partner, whatever it is, and you feel like you're scared, please contact them. If you're in the home and you feel fearful that you cannot speak to them on the phone, remember that you can talk, you can text, you can chat, and they will be there for you. You can also reach out to our website at www.loveshouldnothurt.com. You can reach us on Facebook, on our Instagram page. You can call us, send us messages, whatever we can do to help you. If we do not have the services, we will definitely find the person that does. So last week we had a male's perspective, and I was blessed for the second part two to have Edwin Desamore, Ray Velez, and Charlotte Sahadeo. We had an amazing time. We had fun. It was great. And I want to thank them for just being there and being rock stars. You guys were amazing. I think that just let up the hype and letting people follow us and love us even more every week. I just feel like our content gets better. Before we do anything, I just want to remind folks that we do this for a cause. Yesterday was the birthday of Linda Rios. Linda Rios is why I began this mission. Her untimely death is what started this because I felt something in my heart to do something after someone so close lost their life. So I just want to remind everyone to say a prayer, close their eyes, give a minute, and just send some love and some shouts up to the heavens for Linda for her birthday yesterday. So with no further ado, I'm super, super excited to have an amazing guest tonight. She's important to me because she's my baby girl. Oh my God, I'm already choked up. This is crazy. But if you know me, you know why I'm this way. So the show is titled In My Daughter's Eyes. Not only is it because she's my daughter and she's so important to me, but there's a story behind that. So if you don't know, look her up. There's a singer named Martina McBride. And on the way to the hospital, when my sister drove me, woo, that song was playing in the background before I gave birth to my daughter. True story. Every single time we hear it in the car, she starts to cry, I start to cry, and we get all crazy emotional. So the show had to have been called In My Daughter's Eyes because it was just something that touched my heart of just my relationship with my daughter because she's so phenomenal. So I'm going to bring her onto the screen because Alina is amazing, you guys, and I want you guys to meet my baby girl. Alina!
Hi.
She knows her mother is extra, everyone. So I'm sure she was behind the screen just laughing as I was talking away. She probably was like, oh God, my mom. Hi, Alina.
Hi.
We're in the same household, but in two different rooms. So you're probably like, where are they at? We don't want an echo. So she's over there and I'm over here. Welcome to Mommy's Show, Alina. I'm so excited to have you on. I
Thank
know
you.
I know that you support me all the time and you watch and you always are there for me. Alina, you've been rocking out with me since the day that I decided to take on this mission. You were there the day that we started the filming. People, listen, sidebar. I know that I'm going to be emotional and I want you guys to know that because I'm trying to get through just talking to her and I start, I'm feeling the emotions flowing. So bear with me for real. Alina, you have been with me from the start. I think throughout your life, I tried my best to shield you from what it was that I went through. And it was super, super difficult for me to be able to open up to you. and to kind of let you know. And that was such a difficult choice for me to have you there for the day of the filming, but I decided I did because I wanted you to know not only what mommy went through, but also to be able to see other strong women, to know that this is ever something that you have to deal with. I'm here, we were strong, we got out of it, and you could do the same thing. So, as always, as my followers know, I always have a list of things because I want to make sure that I don't start crying and forget. So, I have a list of questions, and I tried my best to prepare you for tonight. So, hopefully, we can get through this without being too emotional. So, before we get into anything, I know that throughout the taping that day, it was very, very difficult for you.
Mhm.
Sorry, folks, I'm always crying. um, as we videotaped that day, I saw Ray was hugging you, and a couple times he had to take you out of the room. So we've never really spoken about what you were feeling during that time. And I know it's probably like an awkward time to share, right? But I think that it's important that our viewers, see what it is that we do, know what we do, but also know that there's somebody real behind this, right? It's not just me going on and constantly just saying things, but we're real people. So I think that it's important for people to know what it is that you feel. And so, there's people on. If you can look at the chats, Titi Linda's here. She's watching. You have a lot of people who are on who are supporting you. So I hope that this will be easy enough for you. But tell everybody how you were feeling the day that you sat and you listened to us tell our stories.
Well, it was a very emotional day. I learned a lot, and I just felt very taken back and surprised because I thought I knew everything a part of the story, and I thought I was I thought I really knew who my mom was and who my dad was and their story, but after hearing in depth of everything that happened, it just opened my eyes up, and it just surprised me how the man that I call my father really did that to my mom and the person that I love. And don't get me wrong, I love them both, but it set me back, and I was like, how am I going to look at my dad the same? And it still crosses my mind every time I see him, but I also got to remember that's all we've all dealt with it and stuff, and we've all are bigger people now, but it still is very every time I think about it and every time I watch my mom's stuff, I very I still can't believe that happened, and it's still crazy that he's still inside my life. But
So I feel it. I understand it. If you had to think about it and think back on that time, I've come a long way. Together, you and I have come a very, very long way from when that happened. So we've all grown from that situation. We've all learned a great deal. We know, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Um, can you understand why things are the way that they are now? Can you understand why I am cordial and I am friendly, and why I don't longer hold a grudge against that time?
yes, a lot. Yes, I very much do understand where you're coming from and why you are choosing to be a bigger person about it and just forgive him, I guess, for everything that he's done, because I mean, it was a very long time ago, and we've all grown from it in different ways, and we only live once, and why would you want to live the rest of your life holding a grudge over something that happened a long time ago? So
So now that the film's done taping, and we've done so many showings and we've gone so many different places, and we've been able to kind of just spread the word about domestic violence, and you've watched different people tell me stories, and you've seen people come onto the show and kind of give their input, how do you feel about what it is that I'm doing? Is this something that you wish I wouldn't do, something that you kind of are embarrassed of? Like, tell me, you can totally be honest. You and I share everything, we tell each other everything, good or bad. What are your feelings about what it is that I do?
I think it's very important, and I'm glad that you're doing it. And when you first brought up the idea, I was like, finally, someone's talking about it, because I think it's brushed under the cover, it's brushed under the carpet. Nobody talks about it, and it's something that needs to be raised. Where's the awareness about? And it needs to be normalized. This is it needs to be normalized, like a thing that we talk about. We don't just try to hide what this bad thing that a lot of people go through. And I feel that it's important that you did it because it's giving women a place to go to if they're going through the same thing, and it's giving, and then they know that they're not the only ones that feel this way or are going through the same things, and it gives them a safe haven, it gives them a shelter to go to.
Okay. So before we get into anything else, I want to hear what your take is in general on domestic violence. How do you feel when you hear about just domestic violence? What do you think a man should treat a woman like, a woman treat a man? Because domestic violence, you know that I've educated you on this, can be so many different things. You know, it could be partner on partner violence. It could be friendships. You know, people don't realize how toxic some situations are. So, what is your entire outlook on domestic violence and just such toxicity in people's lives? What do you feel about that?
Domestic
It's such
violence,
a
every
big
time I
question.
hear
It's
about
a
it,
big question.
every time I hear about it, it makes me feel angry and it makes me feel hurt that someone could sit there and say that they love you and that they would never hurt you, and then right when they hear something that they don't like or see something they don't like, they automatically want to hurt you. Like, I don't get how someone could love you enough to hurt, say that they love you and still hurt you and think that they're doing the best for you. So it just gets me angry, and it gets me emotional hearing that women and men go through this, and it's sad that it's a normal thing and that it happens a lot, and I wish it didn't happen.
Right. So you have a lot of comments coming in, girlfriend. There's a lot of people watching who are very interested to see you on the screen. Um, Sarah Pagan says that you are beautiful, smart, and strong. You have a lot going up here. I'm not sure if you're seeing them as I'm putting them up, but I want to make sure that you see them. Such a smart girl. I'm crying. Thank you, everybody. She is an amazing girl. um, some women are considered weak because they stay in their situations. They're considered to have enjoyed the abuse because they stayed. Given all that you know now and looking back on that situation, I know that you and I, and like I said, my forum is very open. I'm very honest about what I went through only because I think that it's important to always be honest with your story because that is the only way that we can actually make real change by being honest, living in our truths, and knowing that that's who we are. So, for a lot of years, people said that I stayed because I must have liked it, or I stayed because I enjoyed the abuse, or I was dumb, or I was too immature to know any better. So, you're 13 years old, but you're very wise beyond your years. I can attest that you are smarter than I could ever believe you would be. And I know that this family is with a bunch of amazing young women. My nieces are amazing. My sisters are phenomenal. So I know you come from a very strong background of some strong women. But which gives you, the tools that you need to be so successful and so smart. But looking back on my past, and living with me because we've grown together. We've grown a great deal. I mean, we went from a time where we fought constantly, right? To where we are now that we're like each other's best friends. I can't be without you. You can't be without me. If you go away, you're calling me, Mom, I want to come home. I want to come home. I just want to be with you, which some people think it's crazy in a sense, and they're like, wow, you guys are that close. So we are super close. So looking back on that, what is your take on those ideals that people think that maybe I was dumb, or maybe I was just too stupid, or I liked it, or I enjoyed it? Like when you think about women now and you think about domestic violence, and now that you've read a book that we're going to talk about and you saw kind of like what she dealt with and how mommy dealt with knowing my story, what's your idea of when women stay? What do you think? Do you think that they're weak?
I don't think the reason that they stay is because they're weak. I think it's not about being weak. It's they're in love. That man, you got to remember, that man or woman showed them a different part of themselves before this all happened. There's still so many great things about them that are never talked about, and that's part of the reason why women stay. They think that it's love, and they're scared that if they leave, they're never going to find that type of love, or nobody will get what they're going through to leave. Or some people, they don't some people stay because they don't have nowhere else to go. And if they try to leave, they might be homeless or even worse things. So women or men, they stay because they don't really have anywhere else to go, or they don't have the type of um like they don't have the type of place that like somewhere to go and talk about it, and they don't think that it's normal because a lot of people don't talk about it and they hide it. And so they just, exactly what I just said, they don't have nowhere else to go, or they're just in love and they think it's love.
Right. So for the film, we told you when you were going to go on screen, and when Zulma asked you this question, you later said, "Oh my God, I feel so dumb. Why didn't I say more?" So here's your opportunity. I think you've already answered this a little bit, but when we asked you in the film, your response to Zulma saying, "How should a man treat a woman?" Your response was, "With respect and dignity." Right? So then after you saw yourself on the screen, you were like, I sound so dumb. Why didn't I say more? So if you had to list the perfect list of what you believe a man should be to a woman, or a woman should be to a man, and you have great examples. You have Titi Linda with Theo Lai. Theo Lai loves Titi and they treat each other amazing, right? You have Titi Michelle and Theo Ray, right? You have good examples around you. You have Nina and Theo Chick. You have all these amazing relationships around you. So if you had to pick and choose from all of those relationships, what do you think would be the perfect relationship? And I won't say man or woman because it happens on both ends. So what do you think is the best relationship? You understand what I'm trying to ask?
Yes. Giving each other respect, showing each other loyalty, and earning that respect, because you can't just expect for either partner to just give you that type of respect, or you got to earn that from each other. You got to The relationship should be built on nothing truth, always never hiding stuff from each other, never lie, just be truthful with each other, be open with each other, never try to be something that you're not, and never try to just there's so many like ways to explain it that um I don't know, it's just
You can take your time. It's mommy's show. We stay as long as we want.
but cuz like I've never been in a relationship. I'm too young for
Right,
that, but
right.
like from what I've seen, like in a relationship there's a lot in it for a strong relationship. And from what I've seen from my aunts and my uncles, you just got to be open with each other, and you just got to show each other that you're there, even you're if you need some time, that's okay. And um don't like just go building assumptions every single second and just jumping on like the first thing that like the first answer that you get for something. Like don't be controlling, and don't try to control where your partner's going. Don't go through their phones all the time. Just allow each other to have allow each other to have trust in each other.
Mhm.
Basically, that the whole relationship should be trust and
Respect.
respect.
Okay. So I'm sorry I'm bombarding you with questions. We'll go back to some questions later because I know that it's a lot for you to stop and have to think about what it is that we're talking about tonight. But I thought it was really important for people to know and kind of to see who Alina is. I constantly mention Alina in my film. I mention Alina whenever I go out and I have conversations about my mission. And I always say that Alina is my saving grace. And I say that because if anyone has watched the film or have seen, her and I together or even spoken to me, I constantly say that because I think that, as Jessica stated the one time that she was on, had the instance happen in front of you differently and you didn't experience that abuse that day, I think that wouldn't have been my line in the sand. And I think that that day when it happened in front of you, and at 4 years old, you were able to communicate to a police officer that your father had did it to me. I think that that's what saved me. Knowing that you saw that abuse, knowing that you were aware at that time and at that age what was going on, definitely was like, I need to do this for her. So I say that all the time because people say, why did you stay for so long? And why did you deal with it for so long? But I think they fail to realize that if I didn't stay for so long or I didn't deal with it for so long, I wouldn't have you. And you were probably the best thing that happened to me out of that craziness, which is
I mean,
always, oh, you're so humble. So if you're just joining us, this is my baby girl, Alina. She is on screen today with us, hence the name of the show, In My Daughter's Eyes. She is giving us her perspective on what she feels about domestic violence, about what it is that I do all the time, and how she feels about it in general. So we're going to go back to some questions. And if any of you have questions out there in the audience, please ask them, because I definitely will put them up so that she can answer them. She can see what's going on. Feel free to ask her anything. She's very, very open about talking and she's not shy. But let's get into this book. So if you saw any of my posts this week, and the live that I posted, I let you all know that Alina has begun to read books. That is her new thing. So in the past few months, Alina will get a book, and in 3 days, she's done and on to the next one. You give her money, she's buying books. This is what my girl's been doing all of quarantine. So recently, she purchased a book, and you really go into it blindsided. Am I correct, Alina? They don't really tell you what the
yes.
entire thing is about.
That's like the whole part of loving it. You gotta go into it knowing absolutely nothing or knowing at least a little bit. And that's what held me. I was like,
So Alina got this book in the mail and she started reading it. And I think maybe 2 chapters in, she runs out of her room and she's like, Mom, oh my God, this book is about domestic violence. Oh my God, it's amazing. And then she went back into her room. And then, like 10 chapters in, she runs out, Mom, oh my God, you don't understand. I can't believe she's dealing with this. Oh my God. Then she runs back. The next day, she comes out, oh my God, Mom. He said it's going to change. I feel so sorry for him. Oh my God, I hope she doesn't leave him. And I'm like, okay. She runs out. She runs back in. No, he hit her again. Oh my God, Mom. So your emotions were like all over the place with this book. It kind of gave you a lot of different like things to be freaked out about. So tell me about this book. Tell us the name of the book and why did it stand out to you so much? Because I know you're excited about this book.
the name of this book is It Ends With Us. And it's now my favorite book. I love it. It's obviously, it has a lot. I learned a lot from it. I went into this book absolutely knowing nothing. And I thought it was just a romance between three people and them trying to go back and forth, figure out their lives and stuff. And then I really started getting into it and I found out the main character grew up in an abusive household. And that's when I was like, okay, so it's got domestic violence in it because you watch the main character read her old diaries from when she was younger and she's reading about her she's reading about herself listening to her parents fighting and going downstairs and seeing her dad beat on her mom, and you get to feel how she felt when she watched all of that happen and not have a say and watch her mom make excuses for him all the time and go back and say, oh, it's okay, I just got in his way, or I was out of line, I shouldn't have said that. And you watch her mom just fall apart and lose her worth and lose who she is. And that's what really held me on until I learned that the main love interest winds up being abusive. And the first time it happened, she's very taken aback by it. And she's like, he really just did this because he knew that her parents went through the same thing. So she automatically tells him, if you do this again, I'm leaving you. But she doesn't leave him the first time because she feels like he really is sorry and that he deserves a second chance. So she goes back and she deals with it 2 more times. And you get to learn. That's like, it was just amazing how well domestic violence was portrayed, and the book was just amazing, and I recommend it 100 times.
So I get that. So I get, what the story is. So tell us though why it was touching for you. Why did it, what did you feel any type of personal connection to it? Because I'm your mother. I guess I'm trying to see how you connected the dots and why it was so important for you. And you had different feelings through that, you right? Like you had times when you felt sorry for him, right? Tell me about that, because you confused me a lot. You came out, you disliked him. She should leave him, and then you went back. You came out, but I feel sorry for him. What made you change your feelings and your positions about the abuser at the time?
I think it, like, I my feelings changed about him a lot because of the character development and who he was as a person, and knowing what he went through in the past and why what was going through his head, and the reasoning why he was hitting her is what made me change my mind so much. Because and it and my feelings changed a lot because I personally know that, because you went through that and I've seen it happen, and I've like and having that personal connection is really what kept me, and I was so into it because I came from that. I was born from that happening. So it was very like it was like on a different personal level, because I've actually known, like, seen people go through this. And the main and the main
What's the matter?
because I'm stuck on my words.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Take your time. It's
There's
a
a lot
lot.
of questions in one.
That's okay. Angela Omeda wants to know, what is the name of the book again?
It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover.
It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. All right. So let me give you a different question. Maybe it can help you out again. So, in your opinion, because since you went back and forth with him and the ending was crazy, and we'll get to that because the ending was like, wow, it was from his mouth, right? So, do you think an abuser can change?
Yes. But it depends on the situation and who he is, or who she is, because it
Okay,
could be both.
that's right.
Um, but it depends on who the person is, because there's different types of abusers. The ones that outright know what they're doing and they don't care about how you feel about it, and they just want you there because they feel like they just want someone there so they can go back home to. And then there's the ones that actually do care, and that actually do feel bad about it, and sometimes they don't even know that they are doing it, because, like, verbally, like, they might not even notice that they are being abusive by their words. And um so in different situations, that some of them can change because they actually hold that love for that person to change. But in other situations, sadly, the men don't, or women don't, want to change because that's just who they are.
They have to want it for themselves. They have to want to change, right? Depending upon their. Titi Jessica says, now you know the emotional roller coasters that adults go through in relationships. She sure does. Guys, I just want to remind you that if you have any questions for Alina, feel free to ask because she will answer. I think it's a great time. We're at the 30-minute mark. It goes quickly when you're having fun, right? Just want to remind folks why we are here, as I always do. Make sure that midway we go through and we remind people why we are here. If you're living in a situation of domestic violence, whether it's at home, whether it's in your workforce, whether it's in friendships, relationships, whatever it is, you can always seek help. You can reach out to us at www.loveshouldnothurt.com. through Instagram, through Facebook. If we cannot help you with those resources, we can find people who do. If you're living in a home and you're currently going through domestic violence and you do not know your way out and you're afraid to talk, remember that you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their number is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. If you cannot talk, you can chat and you can text. Just my reminder. So we all know why we're here. So we have a question for you. We have a couple questions for you, Alina. You ready? All right.
Yes.
Naomi Hernandez says, do you think domestic violence is only physical?
No, not at all. It's many things. It's verbal, it's mentally, it's physical, but everybody thinks that it's just physical, but it's many things. It's not just physical because words do hurt too. And sadly a lot of it is mentally. So
Good answer. All right. Marilyn Del Valle. You know Marilyn. Marilyn came and she did our makeup for the film. Marilyn says, what advice would you give a girl your age who is experiencing domestic abuse in their household?
I would tell them to go to somebody, go to a family member if they're comfortable with it, go to a teacher, go to someone that you trust, and just try to tell someone, try to get it out there, try to let it stop. Don't let your don't just don't keep it to yourself because it could turn into worse than what it already is. So I'll tell them to go to someone, try to get help for your parents, and don't keep it secret. Just don't like tell someone. Don't let it go get even worse than it already is.
So Cynthia Rios just said that she is waiting for your book because you're going to be the next author. Thank you, Cynthia. Thinking back on that book, were there moments while you were reading that book that something stood out to you and you thought they reminded you of mommy?
Yeah. The At one point in the book, close to the end, the main character gives birth to her child, and she realizes what she wants for her child, and she realizes that she doesn't want to be with the man that abused her anymore, and she wants to move on from it. And I immediately thought about my mom, and it just it reminded me so much about her because she decided that she was going to go against how she felt to give her child a better life. And because she didn't want, no matter how many times he said he was sorry, she didn't want her child to grow up in a household and have to feel how she felt when she saw it happening when she was younger. And it automatically reminded me of my mom because she always wants the best for me.
You definitely want to make me cry, right? Oh, I love you. Um, so Marilyn says, thank you, beautiful. I love what you're doing with your mom. You're an inspiration to others. Yes, she is. She has no idea how much she is touching others just being so active in my movement. Migdalia says, I personally believe it's also verbally, emotionally, and mentally so sad. You are correct. Yes, we did touch on that. Domestic violence comes in many forms, and sadly, too many people are living through domestic violence currently in bad relationships and unhealthy relationships, and they believe that they're not in a domestic abusive relationship because they say, he doesn't hit me. He doesn't put his hands on me. He doesn't pull my hair. He doesn't throw me down the steps. But they don't realize that when he calls her a bitch or he punches her wall, to make an example, or he lies a gun on top of the table just to keep her in place, or he tells her that she can't have any of the money in her bank account. He controls it. That, that's not abuse, and I feel so brokenhearted at times because there's so many people that I wish would, hold on to this show, watch it, and take grasp and say, you know what, I'm in the worst relationship, because there's so many people that I love so much that currently are in bad situations and don't realize that they are. So yes, mental abuse, verbal abuse, emotional, they're all something that I tell you definitely lasts for you with a lifetime. Alina, look at you, got some supporters in there. That's Alina's godmother. She says, I can't believe Chrissy isn't already in tears. Chrissy was.
Me
You
neither.
just came. I was. I'm like sitting here. If you didn't come from the beginning, Evie, I was crying, announcing her, just saying she was coming in. Because I have been through it not long ago. Thank goodness, not anymore. Yes, thank goodness, and God bless you. I'm glad that you're no longer dealing with that. So, Alina Christine, what are some moments in this book that you felt like you wanted to control what was going on? Were there moments that you were reading and you were like, oh, I want to just pull her out? I just want to change her mind. I want her to see what I see. Were you frustrated at times?
Yes, because she was constantly making excuses for him. She was constantly thinking, "Oh, I just got in his way. It wasn't his fault. I fell down I didn't fall down the stairs because he pushed me. I just tripped and I got in his way and that's why he pushed me or I I said the wrong thing and that's why I deserved what I got." And she constantly compared. She constantly thought just because he wasn't as bad as her father that it wasn't abuse and that her father was 10 times worse. He actually put his hands on her mom, and that um abuse is not just it I mean that abuse is just putting their hands on you and it's not more than physical. And she was constantly hiding it. And she was making up all these excuses to even her best friend, and I constantly just wanted to grab her and be like, "Can you tell them what you're going through?" Like, and I just wanted her to remember that she is worth so much more than what she thought she was, and she didn't have to self-degrade herself over a choice that her partner was making, except because he was constantly just jumping to conclusions instead of asking her. And I just thought she needed to do better, and she needed to remember that she was worth so much more than what she thought she was.
Awesome. Marilyn says it's not easy, but you can get out. It took me 20 years. It isn't easy. And I tell you many, many times, and I tell the followers that a woman will try to leave almost 10 to 15 times before she actually leaves and does not turn back. You have some love in here. Alina Jessica Toledo says, Alina, she loves you. Truly an inspiration, a voice to all of those dealing with it. So, listen, girl, you may not realize it, but just you being so verbal and being so supportive of mommy's movement definitely touches other people. And I know others are watching. So, you gave me the book, and I took a few quotes out of this book, things that kind of touched me at the time. Paulie is on, your big supporter. He says, hi, ladies. Hi, Paulie. So I took a few of them out that stood out to me. And I know that I believe a couple of them you actually mentioned as well. But when I took the book and I read it, these stood out to me. So the first one was 5 minutes. That's all it takes to completely destroy a person. I thought that that was so factual when I read that, especially in my situation, because I remember the first day that I was hit. All it took was those 5 minutes, and it changed my entire perception of myself, of the situation, and my life for a really, really long time. The next one was what happened in the kitchen tonight is something I'm confident won't happen again. I think a lot of times we decide for ourselves that it's going to change. It's going to change. You know, what happened tonight won't happen again. This is the first, this is the last. And I think that's why a lot of people stay in these situations because they feel like it won't happen again. We won't go, you know, he's not going to hit me again. I'm not going to get abused again because he said, I'm sorry. He said that it's going to be okay. And we believe that. So we go and we definitely kind of just say it'll change and then it never does. Another one I saw was a quote from the book. I'm a statistic now. The things I've thought about other women like me are now what others would think of me if they were in my current situation. And that's kind of something that we always say. We kind of feel like we're a statistic because there's so much victim blaming and things like that. What do you think victim blaming is? You know what that is when I say that all the time, victim blaming? What do you take from that?
I think it's when people blame the victim for staying and blaming the victim for the reason of why everything was happening and saying that it was their fault that they got abused because they went out of their they they said the wrong thing or they were supposed to keep their mouth shut and they opened it instead.
Right. Titi Liz says, Alina, Titi Liz is very proud of you and loves you. She can see your comments also. We love you and we're appreciative of you giving her the love. It does not take a shy person to get on this screen. So I definitely had to make sure my girl was properly vetted before she got on the screen and was able to deal with everyone's comments and conversations. If you're just tuning in again, this is Alina. This is the love of my life, my saving grace. And she is on the show today telling us about her thoughts on domestic violence and what she feels is proper treatment of a woman and of a man. Every incident chips away at your limit. Every time you choose to stay, it makes the next time that much harder to leave. Eventually, you lose sight of your limit and that time altogether. What do you think about that quote? Want me to repeat it?
One more time, one more time.
One more time. Every incident chips away at your limit. Every time you choose to stay, it makes the next time that much harder to leave. Eventually, you lose sight of your limit and all of it altogether.
I think it's losing who you are in the process of everything that's happening and losing your self-worth and everything that you believed in slowly, and you're saying, oh, next time it won't be as bad, or there won't be a next time, and then there is a next time, and you keep on saying the same thing over again until you finally yourself don't even believe it, but you're too scared to leave because you lost sight of that limit and you lost sight of what you believed.
Right. So a lot of people ask me all the time, if you are angry at your father still. And I can never answer that question. I can't answer that question for you. The reality is, you are a big girl now. You know the past. You know everything that's happened. Um, so, how do you feel now? Do you? I know that he's your father, and I know that you love him, and I never ever speak ill of him. But people always ask me all the time, is she still angry? Is she still mad? So, what's that answer?
I don't hate him. I'm not mad at him for it anymore. I did, but now I don't. I just sometimes when he does something, when I witness him do something or I see him lash out, I like it automatically remembers everything that I've learned about him, and it makes me mad at him, and I like just want to like come out and like say, you have to stop acting like that. Like, you need to stop acting immature and childish. And sometimes I still do get angry at him, and sometimes I don't want to see him or I don't want to talk to him because I still hold like I in a piece of me still holds that hatred for him and still like is mad at him for what he did, but I love him. And but we all but sometimes,
We've come a long way,
yeah.
a really long way. So, man, you let me tell you, people come on every week. I've never had this many comments. I can't keep up. I'm so excited that you guys are here and giving Alina love because it took a lot for her to come on tonight, people. If anyone has any questions for her, please feel free to ask. She will answer. um, I got super prepared, but because I get so emotional, I get a little nervous and I don't want to get emotional. So some of the things that I wanted to ask you, I'm not. I don't want to cry on the screen. I think all of our viewers have seen me cry way too much. So, looking back on the film taping, the film showings, the book release, talking to teens, my weekly lives, the award that I received, and the recognition that I get from a lot of people. If you had to look back on everything that I've done, I'm giving you an example. And I ended up in another relationship where you started to see that the person was abusive of me. They were violent. They were just nasty to me. It spoke down to me, treated me horribly. Now that you're older, you're not a baby anymore. What do you think your response would be? I'm curious.
You and I both know that I would not hold back. And if I did see any of that or hear any of that, I would put him in his place and I will put you in your place, and I will automatically go to someone and tell them what is happening, or I would go to the police and tell them what is happening, because you're my best friend, you're my other half, you're my mom, and for me to ever see that happening, even after you've already learned from it, it would hurt me, and it would hurt me to see that you're forgetting your self-worth and who you are, and it would really, I would be really disappointed to see you come such a long way to just go right back into it.
Great answer. That's awesome. So here's my answer, my question for you. Uh-oh, we got a question. Christina Vega, I don't have to answer this, but what does your ex say about you speaking about what you have been through? This is a constant question that I received on a daily basis. um, at this time, I am honestly not certain if what I do is known. Um, but I have to find it hard to believe that they don't know what it is that we're going through. I think that it's been put out there so much. I have family members of his that follow me. I have friends of his that follow me. So it's difficult for me to believe that he doesn't. My daughter has gone to his house with the shirt on. She's worn it in front of him several times. People who know him constantly stop me and say, "Hey, I saw your posting." So I'm sure that he knows. I honestly think that that's a part of his life he kind of just wants to let go of and doesn't really want to look back onto. I think that's why we've not had that discussion. So I'm not sure what he feels, but I honestly, in my heart, believe he does know what I'm doing. His son follows me, and I post quite often what I'm going to do on Tuesdays. I've posted every step of everything that I do. I believe, though, that it's my journey. I think that it's my story to tell. And I think that me telling this story kind of gives other people that open door to be who they are and to be honest with themselves. Um, like my daughter, in some instances, because I really, really do not hold any hate, any anger, anything towards him, honestly. When we speak, you would think it never happened. He, comes around and we're not bitter to one another. We're not angry towards one another. We do speak to each other normally, which is very shocking for people. People are like super surprised. But like I say in the book, like I say at my viewings, and like I say all the time, I forgave him a very long time ago. And it took a very big maturity step for me to do so. I forgave him because I felt like if I didn't forgive him for the rest of my life, he would be able to just hold that against me. So I don't feel any anger. What I'm doing to help others. And I really, really want it to be a point for people to know that this is not about bashing him. This is not about people seeing him and saying, "Oh my God, you're a horrible person." It's not. It really is just a way of me being able to help others, because when I went through it, there was no one there to help me. Um, so that's that answer. Um, Naomi says, "Great response. Reminds me of my daughter, Vicky." And Ellie says, "Alina, how would you handle the situation if you ever had a friend going through this?" Good question, Ellie.
I would tell them my mom's story, and I would give her numbers so that she can call for her parents, or if it's for him or her, and I'll tell them not to lose sight of. I would tell them exactly that quote, not to lose sight of their point, and I I would I would handle it in any way that I could. I wouldn't I would talk to like a school counselor or someone, and or I would go to my mom and tell her that I think so and so is going through this, or their parents are going through this, and I think you should talk to them, or you should talk to somebody about it, because it's not my household to go and try to change it. I'm not That's not me. And so I can't be putting someone else's business out there, but I would try as hard as I can with with the help that I can to get them out and to help whoever's going through it.
The resources that you have now.
Yeah.
Right. Cynthia Real says, "Oops, I lost it." I remember I always said no man would ever. I would never accept that until it happened and I forgave and sought forgiveness for getting a black eye from a black slap. Yeah, I can touche on that. There were plenty times when I was dealing with my abuse that I ended up being the one apologizing after I was the one that was hit. And I know that in the past I was someone that said I would never until it happened to me. So I think that that's a big wake up call for a lot of people. We seem to think, and it's just human nature where people believe if I'm in that type of situation, I would never, I won't ever, I won't let anyone. But I tell people constantly when I still hear negativity, because there's a huge, huge number of folks who are positive in support of what it is that I do. But there is still a lot of negativity that comes my way, a lot of negativity that I hear on a constant daily basis. And I just, I try my best to deflect and kind of just ignore the negativity and only accept the positivity because everyone can say never. And without being educated on the subject, I can totally understand why you would believe that. But it's very truthful when someone says, you never know until you take a walk in my shoes. Cynthia says, it takes a big person to still co parent with someone who has hurt you so bad. Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. I really don't find myself to be the bigger person. I do appreciate that, but I don't find myself to be the bigger person. I think I'm just really definitely just trying to get past the pain. And it was so long ago. It was something that, like I said, and I say all the time, that if I didn't let it go, it would consume me for the rest of my life. And you know what? Me and my daughter have the absolute best relationship. We get along like if we were sisters. We chase each other, we play with each other, we make fun of each other. She said it better than I could. She is definitely one of my best friends. We have our mother daughter moments where, I'm her mother and I'm like, but about 90% of the time, we are just so tight. So I say it and I'll say it over and over and over and over and over again. Had I not gone through the abuse, had I not lasted for as long as I did in that relationship, I wouldn't have her. So I don't look back and I don't say I wish it never happened because honestly, if it didn't happen, I would not have that amazing little girl in front of us. Do you remember a lot of the abuse? My children had to think things no one should see, and they seem to not remember. It did affect them at the time, though. So, Alina, I guess the question is for you. Um, Before she answers that, Alina, a lot of my abuse happened pre Alina. It happened throughout the 6 years of my relationship. It happened during my pregnancy and a little bit after she was born, but she was a baby. The only time that she saw anything was when she was 4 years old, and she did see him the last time he hit me. But because she saw and she understood what was going on, that is why I left the relationship. So I guess the question would be, do you remember that time? Do you remember the last time he hit me and you spoke to the police officers?
Um, Not really. I remember before you ever like telling me before about the situation, I remember always having a memory of um being at someone else's house and you opening the door and me seeing my dad, but I never before you ever told me about it, I never like I don't remember a lot. That's the only thing that like I remember from when I was younger, but I don't remember much about it.
Good. Um, She says, good question. So we're almost coming to an end. That's what happens. The show must end. And Alina has homework. All things must come to an end. But I want to say this in front of everyone to my baby girl that I am absolutely proud of you for coming on today and being able to be so open about your feelings, about everything that you've seen and listened to. I know that when you saw us film the movie, it was not easy. Like I said at the beginning, I know that you cried. I know you had difficult moments where you had to walk out hearing so much. So I'm super proud of you for being here. I'm proud of you for being the young lady that you are, because if no one knows you on this screen, a lot of people are biased when they say their kids are amazing, but my daughter's amazing. And I feel every day that I am blessed to have her because she's such a good kid. She just is respectful of me and we just have the best relationship. So, Alina, thank you so much for being here. I know that it wasn't easy to get on the screen and speak to people who you don't even know and tell them how you feel about this situation. Alicia Santiago says, I've been in parking lots after leaving a store and have seen abuse in public, but was afraid at the time to interfere since I was a complete stranger to the couple. Knowing your story, Christina, I wouldn't hesitate to interfere, but probably the best thing to do is call the police. Would you handle it differently? Tita, I definitely, I'm only removing your comment because it's covering us. I would definitely say the best thing to do is call the police. If you choose to stay and see if they show up and you want to watch from afar to make sure, I would never ever ask anyone to interfere physically. And when I say that, I would not want you to go and physically intervene because we do not know if the person has a gun, if the person has any sort of weapon. We don't know if they'll turn that aggression towards you. So, in any instance where someone is seeing some sort of physical violence, whether it's your next door neighbor, whether it's someone you see in the street, I always tell folks call the police. Call them, let them know I am witnessing domestic violence. He is hitting her. He is this, he is that, whatever the case may be. But no, never, never, never physically intervene in that type of situation. I know that I've had moments where I was being abused and I had a friend around and she was terrified because she was helping me move. And she actually just moved out of the room. She walked out of the door and she called the police from the outside. And that was the best thing that she could do. I don't know what that situation would have been like if she interfered. So, no, please do not intervene physically. Call the police. That is your best bet. Your Nina is clapping for you. Vanessa says, yes, great job, mamas. You're such a great, smart young lady. And Angela Omeda says, thank you for joining your mom today. God bless you always. Naomi says, I always say my Vicky is amazing. It's great to learn. Let them know that we value them. Teaches them to value their worth always. God bless the two of you and your amazing friendship and bond. Thank you so much, Naomi. So I want to end it on this. At the end of the book, it's an amazing book. It's called It Ends With Us. So get out and get it. At the end of the book, the mother has her baby girl and the abuser wants to stay in the relationship. And the mother realizes once she sees the abuser with the baby that she can no longer tolerate this, that the cycle of violence must stop. So he says to her, you know what? I didn't write it down, but that I stood it out. It stood out to me, and that's what I wanted to know. So can you go to that last page, Alina, and read that interaction? Because I think it's an amazing interaction. This is how we will close our show today, folks. So I'm going to give her time to get to that page. Thank you guys so much for joining us and for being here and just being supportive of Alina. Alina, Ellie says you are amazing, and so is your mama. I love you, Ellie. We both love you. Did you find it, mommy?
Yep.
Okay, so can you read that
Right.
interaction right when it starts with, I guess, when she realizes looking at him that it's over?
So read the exact page.
Yes,
I look at Emerson, her daughter.
the baby.
I look at Emerson and I look at Ryle, the husband. And I know that I have to do what's best for her. For the relationship I hope she builds with her father, I don't make this decision for me, I don't make it for Ryle. I make it for her. Ryle, when he glances at me, he's smiling, but when he assesses the look on my face, he stops. I want a divorce. He blinks twice. My words hit him like a voltage. He winces and looks back down at our daughter. His shoulders hunch forward. Lily, he says, shaking his head back and forth, please don't do this. His voice is pleading, and I hate that he's been holding on to hope that I would eventually take him back. That's partly my fault. I know, but I don't think I realized what choice I was going to make until I held my daughter for the first time. Just one more chance, Lily, please. His voice cracks with tears when he speaks. I know I'm hurting him at the worst possible time. I'm breaking his heart when this should be the best moment of his life, but I know if I don't do it in this moment, I might never be able to convince him of why I can't risk taking him back. I begin to cry because this is hurting me as much as it's hurting him. Ryle, I say gently, what would you do if one of these days this little girl looked up at you and she said, Daddy, my boyfriend hit me? What would you say to her, Ryle? He pulls Emerson to his chest and buries his face against the top of her blanket. Stop, Lily, he begs. I push myself straighter on the bed. I place my hand on Emerson's back and try to get Ryle to look at me in my eyes. What if she came to you and said, Daddy, my husband pushed me down the stairs. He said it was an accident. What should I do? His shoulders begin to shake, and for the first time since the day I met him, he has tears. Real tears that rush down his cheeks as he holds his daughter tightly against him. I'm crying too, but I keep going for her sake. What if, my voice breaks, what if she came to you and said, my husband tried to rape me, Daddy. He held me down while I begged him to stop, but he swears he'll never do it again. What should I do, Daddy? He's kissing her forehead over and over, tears spilling down his face. What would you say to her, Ryle? Tell me. I need to know what you would say to our daughter if the man she loves with all her heart ever hurts her. A sob
Alina,
breaks from his
Alina,
chest.
read what he says. That's all you have to read after that is what he says. Read it slowly so they can hear what he says.
I would beg her to leave him, he says through his tears, his lips pressed desperately against her forehead. I would tell her that she is worth so much more, and I would beg her not to go back. No matter how much he loves her, she's worth so much more.
Amazing. So, folks, as you see, the book reminded me so much, even just reading that, of my life and how Alina and I came about. People constantly say, wow, you have a daughter after your abuse. I can't believe it. But I tell people all the time, she's the best thing that happened to me out of that. And I call Alina my saving grace. And I say that because she saved me. See, Evie, I'm crying now. Having my daughter was difficult because at that time, after the abuse, a lot of people knew that he had abused me, were upset with me. Um, they said being a single mother would be hard. I was making a horrible choice. How could I be having a baby after all of the abuse? And it was such a weighing of my heart and on my soul for so long because I was like, I'm going to do this alone. Never a life you want to choose. But definitely the best decision I've ever made. So thank you guys for watching because now I'm crying. I just want Alina to see comments that she was happening while she was reading. Nina said, go best friend. Teresa says, Alina, you have no clue how many eyes you open with your truth. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Amazing ladies. God bless. Alicia, very impactful tonight, especially with beautiful Alina's story. Nina is giving you hearts, and so are so many other people. I thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for sharing in this private part of me, sharing in my saving grace, my baby girl. I hope that you guys enjoyed us tonight. I know that we're normally lively and laughing and joking and crazy. But tonight I thought that you guys should see a bigger part of me, which is my daughter. A lot of people shy away from their abuse, but I share my story so that others can be touched by it. But I also wanted you to see this beautiful creature that God blessed me with. I had a terrible story behind it, but she was the gift that came from it. So before I sob on this screen and you guys hold it against me forever, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. God bless you. Alina says she loves you. Have a good night, everybody.